Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. Overall, the political situation we are seeing as far as the major chunk of the opposition, as far as the PTI-led Sunni Ittihad Council, there's also a lot of differences emerging within the party. We'll be talking about the ramifications of this development, while the former Prime Minister Imran Khan is certainly, in jail, and whether the kind of politics at play at this time, what kind of a reaction we are going to be looking at from the two or three different quarters at this time that seem to be emerging within the PTI. Is it really a division? Are they just routine differences? And what effect will they have on the politics? Of course, as far as the point of view, as far as the overall politics within the party is concerned. We've also seen, of course, the former National Assembly Speaker Asad Kaisar suggest, about again non-cooperation of the KP government with the other provinces, and of course the ramifications of that development. All of that today on Perspective. I have with me Barrister Safi Ghauri, who's a legal expert. Thank you for being with us. We also have with us Muneeb Qadir, who's a legal expert, and Aniq Zafar, who is a political analyst. Thank you for being with us today. Let me start with Muneeb here. Muneeb, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Muneeb, there is, for a while we've been talking about, the PTI-led opposition, and of course it started with the election results and of course the non-acceptance of the election results that then culminated into these protests, which are also at this time continuing. With the background of that, now this information or this, latest non-cooperation, which is what Asad Kaisar has said and talked about, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think it will perhaps, because, as far as this CM KP is concerned, we recently saw his interaction with the other chief ministers, with the Prime Minister also, and there seemed to be a recognition that perhaps things, that he will have to have a working relationship. Do you think that this is a step away from that?
Even though recently, as you've mentioned, CM Ali Amin Gandapur of KP, he was seen being photographed with and showing, some sportsmanship with the now Prime Minister from PMLN and the current federal government that we have at the center. And actually, such reconciliatory language was also forthcoming from the likes of Ali Muhammad Khan. But, when, for instance, Ali Muhammad Khan recently suggested that no one is a chore, no one is a thief, this name-calling culture should end, a lot of people within PTI started bad-mouthing Ali Muhammad Khan. And so internal rifts between PTI members and among PTI supporters, I think they are now very much at the fore. And this is a party which is divided. This is a party whose own members are saying that the very few among them who are getting the opportunity to meet Mr. Imran Khan in Adiala jail are misreporting facts or the contents of the communication with Mr. Imran Khan, or that they are twisting the words of Mr. Imran Khan. And now only 3 lawyers have been given exclusive access to even approach Imran Khan, from among PTI. That is Umar Niazi and, of course, Mr. Marwat and Barrister Ghauri. So I think that when the leader of PTI, when the founder of PTI was incarcerated, after there always has been this power grab going on among whatever is left behind, and whatever is left behind is mostly dominated by lawyers. And that PTI went in for their option because they knew that they were, neck deep into litigation, so they needed lawyers by their sides. But what we've seen is divisions, rifts, bad advice, just as you said that, the advice given by Asad Kaisar to KP Chief Minister.
Muneeb, do you think it's also about, I'm going to include the other guests also, but do you think it's also about the politics that they feel resonates with their supporter, or do you think it's just the narrative that they've been giving forward and they don't want to, deviate from that? A narrative of acrimony, antagonism, perhaps, aggressiveness?
Yes, that is exactly what PTI and their brand of politics feeds upon. So, in fact, when people like Asad Kaisar tell the KPCM not to engage with the center and to actually engage in non-cooperation, it is intended to cause mayhem and to cause discord among the provinces and the federation, and generally to create political havoc. That is exactly what they've been used to. That is exactly what they showed on 9th May on the streets. Now that they're doing that in politics.
Okay, let me include Safiullah. Safiullah, there is, recently we've also seen a couple of cases with, Sher Afzal Marwat going to High Court. He's also, on whether they should be allowed to protest. And we've seen the response a fairly quick, efficient response from the High Court with regard to that. And I don't think that there's any prevention at this time from the political party from agitating. Isn't that true?
Absolutely. So to begin with, there's no prohibition on them agitating, going into the streets this time, and there never was in the past either. In fact, this is the one political party which should have been stopped, because we already have the 9th May incident. We already have a proven track record of them using their right of assembly illegally for causing mass destruction all over the country. But regardless, for some reason, our judges thought that it would be appropriate to give them another go and let them assemble. But what we still see them being unhappy. And that's what the shocking thing is, that no matter what happens, we see them constantly being critical. Now that the judgment has come out in their favor, they're still unhappy with the courts. They still think that the courts are biased. They still want to go complain about how the judges are being sort of forced to give judgments against them. The same judges who are giving them relief are the judges who are being criticized by PTI. And this is where I'll actually agree with Muneeb, that the problem here is that this is the only political party, PTI and maybe some other proscribed organizations like TTP. These are the only entities within Pakistan who benefit from Pakistan going downhill. So if, for instance, there is a terrorist incident, PTI gets to stand up and say, look, this is what happens when PDM comes in. But if we were there, this would not happen, because they try to use everything for political point scoring. Now, the point that was made just a while ago about the province not coordinating with the center. Why was this happening? Now, what are they trying to say? They're trying to say that the KPK province should not coordinate with the center. As a result, they would not get the funds, the NFC awards that they're supposed to get on time. This would result in increased debt, increased poverty within KPK. And when that would happen, they would blame the center. They would agitate the people of KPK, and they would say, look, we tried, but the center is not giving you your right, and therefore we need to stand up in revolution. And that is the exact same playbook that we see proscribed organizations using. And I don't understand why the government does not take this mannerism of communication a little bit more seriously. The fact of the matter is that what is constantly being fed by PTI to its workers is that this is an illegitimate government. It is a constitutional government. It is a government that has now been recognized by all other governments of the world, by international organizations, by our own courts. Everyone, a oath has been taken. But no, instead of respecting democracy, they are constantly trying to agitate them, trying to add fuel to the fire in a country that is already suffering tremendously economically, in a country that is suffering tremendously diplomatically.
I want to talk more about that. I also want to talk more about the fact that, of course, if you look at the economic situation, I'm going to include Aniq Saab in this. Aniq Saab, there is little doubt that we are going through a difficult time as far as economy is concerned. All hands on deck as far as the government is concerned, as far as all provincial governments are also concerned. They want to make sure that we get to some sort of a sustainable solution as far as economy is concerned. 3-year program is being talked about, all of that. In this kind of a situation, increases are also on the agenda to make things better in the larger interest for the larger span of time. How will this opposition react to that?
Well, as already pointed out by other panelists, that there is a method to this madness by the opposition.
Do you agree that there is a method to this?
Yes, that is very obvious. We have previously also talked in these studios about the fact that keeping the temperature high, keeping things on a boil benefits them. And that is the only politics they know. When they were in the government, we know we are aware and we are witness to the fact that even then they were always trying to create issues, trying to keep temperature high, not realizing that they are in the government and they have to bring down the temperature. In the opposition, that is their success, that is how they measure success, that they have to continue to keep things on a boil and tell their audience, their constituency, that everything is bad, everything is going downhill, and
no matter how it and what it means for Pakistan.
It means for the country, for the economy, for our
political instability,
for our
which is
image in the international community.
Right.
That does not concern them. And also, again, what we have seen is that the moment someone from PTI tries to talk reason, talk about reconciliation, there is a huge pressure that is created by so-called social media warriors of PTI on these people, that how can you do that? This is not acceptable. Until unless Mr. Khan comes out, you should not be engaging with anyone. So it becomes sort of a compulsion for the leadership which is available, like Asad Kaisar and all those, that they then give some statement which gives
which is inflammatory,
which gives some sort of relief, some sort of cookies to those the behemoth which has been created by PTI itself, of those so-called social media warriors who attack everyone who tries to bring normalcy in the political relationships.
Let me go to Muneeb. Muneeb, there's also, when we talk about this latest as far as the leadership that is available in the absence of the former Prime Minister Imran Khan Sahab, there is, overall the infighting that we are talking about. If we look at, for example, people like, Ali Zafar and, of course, the scenario that, do you think it's also because he was thought to be a more rational voice, and, the leadership demand is somebody who is more, aggressive in nature? What are your thoughts on this?
Yes, so in fact, PTI is, you asked me, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, all right. So PTI is, again, I would repeat the same thing that I said before, that PTI's brand of politics is based on aggression and, antagonizing the masses, and also whipping up that sentiment that we are being wronged, and that if they don't whip up that sentiment, then the whole raison d'etre, the whole basis of their politics just crumbles down. So they have to do that. And as you've mentioned people like Barrister Ali Zafar or Barrister Marwa, there had been this in-house fighting between these people going on as well. We saw, the kind of barbs that exchanged between Mr. Marwat and Barrister Ghauri as to who would be a chairman, and Barrister Ghauri eventually became the chairman. So the power struggle has been at that level. And on the other hand, there are also people from within PTI who are complaining that they are being targeted. For example, I know of Mirza Mohammad Afridi, who has been given a Senate ticket, and other PTI people have caused havoc on social media. And even Sheikh Rashid, who had been very close ally of PTI, said that during the National Assembly election, those who had paid PTI in huge bucks and huge amounts, they were the ones who were given party tickets. So in fact, this shows that even when Imran Khan was not incarcerated, he failed to build a team spirit among the party. This was not the case with Nawaz Sharif when he was incarcerated, not the case with People's Party leadership when they were behind bars. Their parties are able to function without these kinds of deep divisions. So this just shows two things. Number one, that there is absolutely no patience, that PTI has aggression is their brand of politics, and secondly, there is no team spirit even inter se among themselves.
But is it also because, Safiullah, is it the recent cases that we are seeing the judgments that are coming in on 9th May related matters? Do you think that as far as those cases are concerned, the decisions overall are concerned, the involvement of the courts, the army prosecution, as far as the army-led courts are concerned, and that also we are looking at now, do you think that itself is also going to give rise to some sort of maybe some rational behavior from the party, or no?
So, MAHRUKH, I'll tell you something from my personal experience here, and the short answer is no, it will not. PTI has these internal rifts, and they've had them for a very long time. So once again, given my personal experience, I'll tell you something. Taking this advantage of being on your show right now, I was approached by a slew of PTI leaders about 8 months ago, and they wanted to file cases in the court. And what were those cases? Those cases were of them getting the party tickets. So these leaders had figured out that Imran Khan, whilst he was not in jail, this is before he went to jail, had gone around promising multiple tickets to multiple people from the same constituency. So he'd go around, he'd tell one person, he'd be like, bring more people, I'll give you a ticket. Then to another person, he'd say the same thing. To another person, he'd say the same thing. And what he would do would feed off these people fighting amongst each other. He would tell them that, you are the one, you are my favorite, the other person is not. And that way he would get a lot of crowds for kind of jalsas that he did. Now these people talked amongst themselves and they found out, and this had become a problem because people at the end of the day knew that there was only one ticket that was to be given. So they knew for a fact that a lot of lies had gone about, a lot of false promises had been made, misrepresentations had been done. And I think PTI got extremely lucky that Imran Khan got arrested. They got extremely lucky that the symbol got taken away, because had the symbol stayed and had Imran Khan, we would have seen half the people walk out. But now the crows have come to roost, because that is exactly what has happened. Since elections have taken place, the people who have been made promises now want in, and they realize that Imran Khan doesn't want to meet them. The reason why Imran Khan is not meeting them, the reason why he's meeting just his few lawyers, is because he knows that when they come to him, they will remind him of his promises. And he's waiting for the time to pass to such a degree that he can...
Is he being allowed? Isn't it true that he's now, the current situation, the legal situation is that he's being allowed to meet anyone he wants? No.
So very recently, he was being allowed to meet anyone he wanted. It was only recently that we heard of a potential terrorist threat on Adiala jail, that some of the crowds that were gathering outside of Adiala were prohibited. Earlier, before that, there were practical jalsas outside of Adiala at all times, but he was not meeting anyone. What's important to state here is that at the end of the day, all he's doing is he's meeting Rauf Hassan, he's meeting his sister, he's meeting his 2-3 lawyers. That's all he's doing. He's not meeting the rest of the people who can go and meet him as of right. There's not a problem. People can visit other people in jails. But only due to the recent security changes has this taken place. But once again, what I want to state here is that I feel like he got very lucky that he's in jail right now, and he's using that as an excuse. What you see is, you can clearly see different narratives coming out of PTI. On the one hand, one narrative says Imran Khan is still very much the leader. He's still very much aware of what's happening. Rauf Hassan, who is now the spokesman, says that all that.
I want to talk about that also. Let me come back to you. I'm going to ask Aniq Saab this. Aniq Saab, Rauf Hassan is now the official spokesperson. So is he going to be the only one giving the official party line? Because we're also looking at all these other statements coming in.
I think that does not matter.
Okay.
Because there are others in the party who are
not going to be quiet.
Who won't be quiet, and also they are at important positions. Rauf Hassan, whatever he may think that he is not a senator. He is not an MNA. He is not in any official capacity in the sense of in any elected office. Those who are in the elected office will always remain important, and people like Marwat or Asad Kassas and others who are present in in official capacity, yes, will have some say. Look at the list which Imran Khan has agreed to. Yesterday there was an agreement between the jail authorities and Mr. Imran Khan after these petitions and all that, and he has given name of 3 lawyers that they will be deciding who will be meeting me, the individuals who will be meeting Imran Khan, and he has equitably distributed 2 people each among these 3 people.
Right.
Two people can be nominated by Ghauri, 2 by Marwat, 2 by Umair Khan Niazi, and only those people will be allowed to meet. So these people will remain important. Mr. Rauf Hassan is an official spokesperson, but again, given the dynamics of the media and the social media, I don't believe that official spokesperson of any party carries that much importance right now as it used to be previously. because previously only the spokesperson will go to the TV to express some party position
Now
or
everybody
join or
going to
meet the
voice
media. Now in an atmosphere where social media drives the news agenda, I think the official spokesperson per se has become almost an irrelevant position.
Right.
And particularly in a party like PTI, where everyone is happy to talk and claim that he is the most important person, he is the person closest to Mr. Khan. So, and Mr. Khan himself has not said so far that who is the closest to him.
But to some extent, I guess it's normal with any political party. As far as
I mean, yes, sort of internal politics is part of all political parties, and it is not new to Pakistan or anywhere in the world. Internal politics happens, but PTI has a unique,
the ability to control.
I think, of course, because all other political parties have defined second and third tiers.
Right.
We
There's
do
a
not have
hierarchy of
defined
relation.
second and third tiers in PTI.
Muneeb, as far as this infighting that we are talking about, there's also, of course, the issue that still persists even today, as far as the issue of reserved seats is concerned, and of course the joining of the Sunni Ittihad Council. We saw some differences emerge within the party after that. Seems to have not worked so far in getting seats. For the PTI as far as the reserve seats are concerned, and of course this matter is likely to go to the Supreme Court still, and of course we'll see whatever happens, but at this time, and of course in a lot of cases the seats have already been awarded to other political parties also. So that also has been a bone of contention within the PTI leadership that is on ground.
The thing is that PTI, now that we've talked about the reserve seats which the PTI had wanted, I mean, they wanted the Sunni Ittihad Council to get those seats, and they did not. It's so unfortunate and shameful that the KP Assembly has refused to administer oaths to those minorities and women who have gotten reserved seats in the KP Assembly. And that is their way of trying to derail our democracy, trying to influence the outcome of the Senate election, which is now just a day away, so that, those candidates who are going to vote on reserved seats from the KP Assembly are unable to do that. And it's so ironic that this is the same political party which has been crying foul that electoral rigging took place in the 8th February election. So all of this is, this infighting, and these people also trying to derail democracy, trying to sabotage other political parties. These things are all linked. When you don't have your own house in order, when the political party itself is not on the same page, they are only going to cause political uncertainty and mayhem. We've just also noticed that, Sher Afzal Marwat made a claim that financial corruption got much worse under the PTI government, and the kind of abuse that he got from, the social media army of trolls online. And then Shandana Gulzar recently manufactured lies against Maryam Nawaz Sharif in the Zille Shah case, in which they've got, statement from their own Yasmin Rashid, which implicates PTI in that tragic death. So all of this put together, this is a recipe for disaster that we are seeing. It's absolute, I believe, uncertainty looming at every single corner wherever PTI is going. And their politics, I think, just as, my fellow colleague Safi just mentioned, it's not in sync with what mainstream political parties are expected to do. This is more TLP, TTP style politics. This is street power politics, but not parliamentary style of politics.
But I think that's where you hit the nail on the head, that as far as a parliamentary style of politics versus street style politics. And I'm going to include Safi in this. Safi, isn't it true that they believe that street style politics has worked for them? Even if we exclude May 9th, or if we, they believe that is where the center of their power comes from.
Right. So that's exactly what. The problem here is just the fact that they do not want this political system. They are now talking about an alternate political system. Once again, much like TTP is. TTP wants a Sharia system. They want everybody to get together. TLP also wants a complete overhaul of our constitution. So what we see right now is PTI as a dissident. They do not endorse the present parliamentary form of democracy that we have in our country. Now that's fine, you know, somebody can have a difference of opinion. That's perfectly acceptable, and that's one of the reasons why perhaps TTP is more respectable than PTI, because at least they are not participating in these elections. Then PTI participates in these elections right now. For instance, they have boycotted the Senate elections in Sindh. Why? Why did they feel the need to boycott the Senate elections in Sindh? It's just like when they came into power and then they decided to dissolve all the assemblies and leave everything, causing absolute madness. So this is what they're doing again. They've come into power, gotten whatever little seats they have in Sindh, gotten whatever little seats they have in KPK. They're not administering votes. They're not letting anyone else work either. They're not letting the system function in Sindh. And once again, what I want to say is that this is all being done by design, because what happens when the system doesn't function? What happens when there is such degree of uncertainty? Investments don't come in. People get very unnerved by what's happening in Pakistan. They're like, what's going to happen? Is this government even going to stay, or is it not going to stay? Why should we invest in a country which is desperate right now for economic growth? And PTI, when these people don't come, PTI turns around and says, oh, look, Imran Khan got all those overseas Pakistanis to invest, even though they did not. But the fact is that they have this narrative going on that if Imran Khan comes in, somehow Trump and all those other international leaders will come flooding in with the money. We've already seen that doesn't happen. But what they want is they want to make sure that this government does not function. And these are just little tactics of creating chaos that benefits them tremendously. But once again, I want to point out here that whereas their role is...
I'm going to interject. Safi, it's also an absence of, I mean, you know, perhaps sound legal advice with regard to joining of the Sunni Ittihad Council, or the preliminary homework that should perhaps have been done by the political party and their legal leadership, or, you know, the legal brains. Is probably, you know, a time to revisit that, and instead of, you know, blaming the system, which is what we've also seen by the political party.
I completely agree. I think that what you have said is something that is extremely pertinent, because whereas we have a lot of lawyers in PTI now who have won elections, we don't see the kind of lawyers who make laws, the jurist kind of lawyers, the ones whose judgments get reported. We don't see those kind of lawyers. What we see is just these agitational lawyers who are able to get bar councils to lock down, to strike. But we don't see good minds who can explain to them how something is done. And we had a good mind in PTI once, like Justice Wajiuddin. We saw what happened. We had another very good lawyer in PTI, Hamid Khan Sahab, you know, very respectable lawyer. We see how he was sidelined. So anyone who has an iota of rationality and comes from a legalistic background automatically gets sidelined. We've also seen when Sher Afzal Marwat tried, you know, knocking some sense into them, what happened to him, you know, how the PTI turned against their own every time somebody speaks sense. So I completely concur with you that, you know, unfortunately what we see is we see really stupid, really bad legal strategies through and through. And when those strategies don't work, then what do we see? We see things like Latif Khosa saying that the government was trying to assassinate him in an elevator. Then this is what it gets down to every single time. So that's the quality of their legal arguments. And that's just downright unfortunate.
Right. Aniq Sahab, there's also, as far as, you know, the more pressing concern at this time is that, you know, even after the amendment, we need the provinces to work in tandem with the federation. And that will be a cause for concern with, of course, the CM KP is known for a more fiery brand of politics. Whether he will, you know, realize that he has to work with the centre or not, and, you know, whether that policy will work with his party leadership on ground is a cause for concern.
I think there again, as we pointed out earlier also, that there is a huge internal pressure within PTI and an external pressure in the form of these social media warriors, so-called.
Which actually tends to get people who don't follow that route sidelined.
But again, someone who is in office, like Mr. Gandapur, he will now be advised by the bureaucracy, by people who are seasoned in these affairs, and Mr. Gandapur will soon realize that he has to work with the federal government to get issues resolved in his province. It is one can argue that the strategy of PTI can be that they do not cooperate with the center does not cooperate with them. That means issues keep piling up in KP, and PTI continues to sell the narrative of victim mode for itself and for KP. This is a very, very dangerous strategy, and I think this strategy cannot last very long. Mr. Ali Amin Gandapur will have to come around, work with the federal government, because ultimately it's the people of KP that will suffer if this politics of attrition and unnecessary conflict creation continues.
Which they will blame on the centre,
yes.
Which is the narrative that they will give forward to the people. But in terms of the cooperation that is needed from the opposition, Muneeb, of course, like I said, we are looking at a time of trying to get stability as far as, our financial, economics in the country are concerned. And with that in the background, we are looking at increases. Are we going to be looking at more protests then from the opposition? Because, they certainly don't seem to be wanting to work with the government at this time.
Yes, so this links back to what I just talked about, parliamentary style of politics, that you mount up a political opposition, of course you do, and that you do in the parliament, given the fact that by their own admission, PTI-backed independent candidates had won overwhelmingly. I mean, that's what they say. It means that they do have leverage, they do have influence in the parliament, but unfortunately they will try to bring their fight onto the streets rather than in the parliament. And we are seeing that trend in any case, because the PTI overseas protesters were protesting outside IMF headquarters at a time when Pakistan desperately needs some economic relief. The 8th February election, they show some promise of political stability, which could then create and open avenues for economic stability as well, for foreign investment as well. The SIFC is working on that end. But if you have PTI with its, again, something that they claim themselves, with its so-called popularity, they're using that popularity to stop investing from coming into coming into Pakistan. They're using their leveraged street power to prevent IMF from giving us any loan, or and these are the loans that PTI government themselves sought when they were in power back in the day. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to put themselves before the nation. They want to bring the nation to its knees so that the nation is left with no other option but them. But if this is how you play your politics, then it means that you can never ever represent us. You can never ever represent people like me, people like you, us citizens, because you put yourselves first. And this is not how opposition is done. This is not how politics is done. And this is certainly not how government is earned.
Do you think, Muneeb, that realization is a growing one even in the supporters of PTI? Do you think it's finally permeating in those, that supporter, or it's too much of a cult? And I'll include Safi in this later on also, that are they being able to see that this is not going to work in the long term for the country?
You've used the word cult, and I think that this word sums it up, because I just saw that when even very able individuals like Mr. Salman Akram Raj were taking their oath of joining PTI, their oath was of loyalty to Imran Khan. And it's a one-man cult. It's almost, Trumpism playing out in Pakistan. And when they say that this one man is our red line, and what they did on 9th May, that because you dared to touch one man, the law enforcement agencies dare to touch him. I mean, they have the monopoly to touch any one of us if we violate the law or apparently violate the law. But no, just because it's Imran Khan, he's above the law, he's above the nation. So if that is not the standard textbook definition of cult, then I don't know what is.
Safi, your comments on this? Safi, can you hear me? I think there's a problem with audio. Let me go to Aniq Zafar. Aniq Zafar, there is, let's leave that aside. Let's leave, the political, their own cult, or if whatever they believe in as a political party. Let's leave cult also aside. The question is that for the country, for long-term policy, we talk about economic charter. We have for a while been talking about economic charter. if things don't work out, it's going to be a problem for any and all political parties.
Yes.
That kind of, with that kind of a scenario in mind, the Senate elections, the fact that, the KP situation, and the courts have also said that they will not, they can withhold Senate elections also. But the question is that this party has a considerable amount of seats, whether we look at Senate or we look at the National Assembly. So therefore, it becomes important for there to be a working relationship with them.
Yeah, look, one of the problems of PTI leadership is that they do not understand that even if you have overwhelming public support, and I am saying even if with quotation marks, overwhelming public support more than any other party, even then you have to work within a system. And the failure of the leadership is that they are not thinking in terms of channelizing their support into something constructive and positive. They are trying to widen their support base with the sole view of creating chaos. So all of them want to be king of chaos, as they think that their leader wants chaos. So these kings of chaos are now creating chaos within their own party, outside their party, in the parliament, on the streets, everywhere they want chaos. This, again, as I said, that this will not serve them in the long run, because in the end, people get sick of these tactics. I understand that the youth of Pakistan is quite sort of despondent and disappointed because obviously because of the economic situation, because of so many other issues in Pakistan. They think that this state, this country is not providing them jobs, education, health services, and so many other things. But again, this is an anger. Anything you do in reaction to an anger does not bring any positive change. The leadership of any party, any political party that has public support, be it PTI, be it PMLN, be it PPP, or other smaller parties, all of them have to work within the system and, as I said, channelize those energies of their support base into something positive and constructive. This is what PTI must realize. If they do not realize it, I do not see this party going beyond a few years, because in the end, all over the world we have seen that these populist narratives, these tactics of populism have a limited age, and you ultimately lose support of the people.
I'm going to go to Safiullah. Safiullah, there is, we're running out of time, but your quick comments overall, as far as the narrative of the stolen elections that we saw, PTI talk about, the fact that, they're actually agitating on a very limited number of seats, although the allegation is that there is, a number of other seats which are, according to them, been falsely awarded, the way that the elections were conducted. Do you see this narrative now settling at all? Because we're seeing the reaction of the courts, the overall tribunals, the process overall is right there.
No, that's the problem, MAHRUKH. The problem here is that we have a due process, but PTI does not believe in due process. And that's what the whole issue is. They could have gone to the courts for anything, but they don't like the courts because the courts rule against them and because they look at judgments. So they don't want to go to the courts. They don't want to go to any other political party either, because normally if you don't like the courts, then you could go to other political parties to intervene and mediate. They don't want that either. They don't have any friends outside of the country. A lot of people like Nawaz Sharif, when they were out of the country, they had princes of Qatar sending letters in their support. We had, when Bhutto was to be hanged, there were people from all over the world who were writing to Zal Haq. He has no friends outside of Pakistan, no friends in the court, no friends in the bureaucracy, no friends in the military. And that is why their best bet is to just go on and create absolute chaos. Now, when you said a little while ago that this is a cult, this was absolutely right. Because this is the only time in Pakistan that we see a political person merging himself with, religion the way he does. The way he talks about how he is going to set Riyaste Medina. I specifically remember when the Wazirabad attack on him took place, the assassination attempt, he started talking about how angels came down and saved him from imminent death, and how PTI started presenting these different witnesses who saw angels come in and move the bullets, and he even bought a doctor, if you remember, and missed the bullet by millimeter. What
one would like to see, Muneeb, your quick comments. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but I'd like your quick comments on the overall situation.
It's just that, what Safi just reminded us of, I just cannot resist the, temptation to laugh out loud. It brings back memories of PTI's politics when they had been on the streets and they were talking about Hakiki Azadi. All that I can say is that the way forward is that now we have a government at the center. We've got our provincial governments in place, and we need to ensure that they are allowed to function. And that, the process of democracy is not derailed any longer just because of the whim of one person who isn't liking things, because red carpets are not being rolled out for him wherever he goes. If he has violated the law and the cases against him are many, then he has to face the law. He has to face it.
Right. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for being with us. Muneeb Qadir, thank you for joining us. Barrister Safi Ghauri, thank you for your time. Aniq Zafar Saab, thank you for making it. Overall, of course, there has to be a process of law. There has to be, as far as all political parties are concerned. And for there to be, at this time, we need continuation, we need stability. And of course, there are courts, there are tribunals, there is that process of law available to all political parties. Let's hope that kind of sense will prevail. Let's hope that we will see, it among all political parties. There is caution and there is some circumspection which will really be needed so that the country, the economy can move forward. We can work towards stability. We can work towards the larger interest of the country. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.